Welcome to the very first episode of the Busy Moms Can Read podcast. I'm Becky Aniol, and I'm joined today by my fellow pastors' wives at Praise Mill Baptist Church in Douglasville, Georgia, Elise Sikes and Kate Joyner. And we are excited to bring you this new podcast where we're encouraging moms not to stop reading during the busy motherhood years, but to continue to grow and learn and to read lots of good books. So we're going to offer practical tips, and today we want to talk about why. Why should busy moms read? Why should we continue to make an effort to read good books throughout all of the crazy, busy laundry and diapers and everything else that we're doing? Why should we make an effort to read? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I want my co-hosts here to introduce themselves, and I'll introduce myself. We're at 3 different but overlapping stages of motherhood. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Kate, you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, so yes, my name is Kate, and my husband is one of the pastors here at Praise Mill. And I have 4 children, ages 9, 7, 4, and 10 months old. So I'm in a very busy season of my life. I homeschool, and my husband and I have been married for almost 13 years now. And my background is I got married very young at 19 and got my cosmetology degree during my early years of marriage and went right into motherhood after that. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a native to the Atlanta area. We moved away for a little while we were first married, and we're back now, and we've been back in the area for almost 6 years. So it's like coming home. So it's been really cool.
My name is Elise. I am married to Matt Sikes, who is also one of the pastors here at Praise Mill. I have 5 kids, ages 13 down to 3, and I homeschool them as well. I have a background in music education, so I have taught elementary band and orchestra, and then I lead children's choirs here in our church and in other areas across the country. So I'm thankful to be here, and I'm looking forward to the podcast.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great conversation. I'm Becky, and my husband is the president of G3 Ministries and one of the pastors at Praise Mill Baptist Church. I have 4 children. My oldest is in college, and then I have a 17-year-old who will be a senior in high school, and then I have a 10-year-old. So I think all have just about 10-year-old boys.
Yep.
They're all good friends.
They are.
And then I have an 8-year-old daughter as well. So kind of all the whole gamut of ages between you have an infant and I have a college-age son. Mm-hmm. So Scott and I have been married for 22 years, and books have been a passion of mine for a long time. And I went so far as to crazily get my PhD in Christian education when I was pregnant with our 4th daughter, which I don't necessarily recommend that course of action, but I did it anyway. And so that just grew my love of books and my understanding of the importance of reading. And you do not have to get a PhD or a master's or anything to be a lover of books and a great reader. But that was something that the Lord called me to, and I'm thankful for that extra education that I got. So I think we want to open the podcast each time that we talk with the books that we're reading, just to give you recommendations and to show you that we're excited about reading, and we want you to be excited about reading too. So anyone want to jump in with what they're reading right now or what they've just finished reading?
I'll start.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. So I will start off to say that I was not a read multiple things at the same time person, but I've come to appreciate that and love that. And so now I have a list of several things going and of different genres, and I've really liked that. So some of the things that I'm working on is God's Battle Plan for the Mind by David Saxton.
That's such a good book.
And actually been wanting to read it for a really long time. Our ladies group when we were at the same church in Texas,
yeah.
right after we moved to Georgia, the group did that one, and I was like, oh man, I wanted to do that. So now I'm just getting around to it.
Yeah.
But I'm starting that now, and it's just been highly recommended by a lot of people. So I'm just in the first few chapters, so I'm excited about that. And then I'm also listening to a series, just a fiction series by Ashley Weaver called the Electra McDonnell series, and I'm 3 books into that. It's a historical World War II fiction series, and it's riveting. It's something that I listen to on audio while I'm doing lots of things, and I have to, tune other things out to keep going because it's so interesting.
I read those last year. They're really good. They're clean and not necessarily for young people, but they're clean and intriguing.
Yes.
And I read them on Kindle. I didn't listen to them, so I don't know how the audiobooks are, but they were my bedtime read because I like to read something just kind of not too weighty that's not going to make me have to, I don't like to read, the Puritans or something right before bed because then my mind starts going. So I love to read a mystery or she's it
is very mystery-like.
Yeah, she's like, it's espionage, World War II, all that, so those are fun.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
I need to read those. I was thinking I need to write those down.
Yeah. Are you listening to God's Battle Plan for the Mind?
No, I'm reading that one. Actually, it's through G3 Plus.
Oh, okay.
And I'm doing that one on my Kindle through just the availability through G3 Plus.
Nice. I actually just finished The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery.
Oh, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. So I've tried to be so much better about reading fiction, and I'm very picky when it comes to fiction, but Becky, you actually encouraged me to read fiction again. And so I just decided to read some old classics that everybody loves. Modern fiction, I'm especially picky about, just because it can be sort of cringe. That's just how I...
a lot of it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I read that one. I actually audiobooked that one, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm also currently audiobooking Delighting in God, which is about Sarah Edwards.
Oh, yes.
It's on the G3 Plus.
Yeah, someone just told me about that.
Sharon James is the author.
Nice.
So, yes, I've been listening to that one because I've, for a while now, been meaning to read more about Sarah Edwards, just because I've heard wonderful things about the way that she supported her husband as a pastor's wife when they were just in such a crazy season for the church in general, for everybody and for ministry. And anyway, so it's been a good one to listen to. I've just been I listen to it when I am mopping or sweeping or taking care of kids, whatever it may be. So I've really enjoyed that as well. And I also recently finised My Dear Hemlock.
Oh, yeah.
That one's on my list, too.
Yeah, I just met her this weekend.
So,
yeah.
I want to meet her.
Yeah.
I just finished that one, and that one was very good. It's
whimsical. It's the way she sets it up is so unique.
It is, and it's very convicting because it really is fiction, but it's about very real life
situations.
I mean, sort of like the Screwtape Letters, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like the common sense to women, really is what it is. So it's very convicting. I would even say it's one of those that is in a unique category where women could read it together in a small group setting.
Yeah.
And even though it's fiction, it would still be a very convicting.
There would be a lot to discuss.
For sure.
Because you're going to find at least a handful of chapters in there that you have walked through and dealt with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So really enjoyed that one.
Have you read Marriage to a Difficult Man yet?
Thinking.
No, I haven't. And I have that on my list to read.
That would be a great follow-up to the Delighting in God.
For sure.
I love it. I mean, she has 11 children, right?
Yes.
So speaking of busy moms,
exactly. And a busy husband.
And a busy husband. He's gone all the time, preaching away or studying or whatever. And then when he's home, he's pretty much cloistered in his office, preparing sermons or writing books. And so she's running the household. She's entertaining like strangers who knock on the door and
Yes.
say, I'm here to study with your husband. Can I live with you for months?
And apparently, she would also give really good advice as well. Some of the pastors who would come and visit, they would talk about how they had such a good time visiting also with Sarah, because she
was just
just
full
had
of
so
wisdom.
much wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's amazing too, because I've learned that she really struggled with anxiety and fretfulness, but the way people speak of her is not as if she struggled with those things. Her husband knew that she did, and she was very honest about that struggle. But the way people talk about her and the way she was as a mother and raising her children, she was very composed. And they said her children were just so well behaved and her house was running so well. So that's just amazing.
But not like Instagram perfect. Like Marriage to a Difficult Man,
yeah.
it brings out that their house was orderly, but that when people would come over, there would be a book, you know, open, and there was embroidery.
Of
like
course.
someone was in the middle of doing
lived there,
something. Right. So it didn't have to be like completely, you know, perfect.
Set,
so I love the model of hospitality that she gives us.
I love that. I aspire to that. That's hard.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a sweet book. I got to the end of it, and it's just very contemplative, because it's not a drama of any sorts. It's just a true biography of this marriage, and you just get to the end, and you just kind of just contemplate and think through all of just the weight that they carried, and yet just the wisdom and the encouragement that they give.
Yeah.
In the book itself, but also just in their lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
Julian McNeely just finished recording the audiobook of Marriage to a Difficult Man. So the ebook is on G3+, but the audiobook is coming.
Nice.
It's in like post-production right now. So
That's
I'm excited
wonderful.
about that
I'm
because,
excited.
you know, it's a thicker book. So sometimes, you know, we get intimidated with sitting down with a thick book, but if it's on audio, we can do it while our hands are busy.
I think that's a really good one too, that husbands and wives can read, because, you know, especially as pastors' wives, our husbands are reading tons of theology books, right? And they're kind of steeped in that. And sometimes we overlap on those, but sometimes we're in a different category and reading parenting books or, you know, homemaking books or things like that. But I feel like Marriage to a Difficult Man is a great one that you could overlap and discuss with your husband on, because it's applicable to both.
Right. And it's not just about Sarah. It's all, you know, about his life too, and how they work together to make their marriage successful. So yeah, that's really good.
But too, that's a plug for audiobooks, because some people think if you're audiobooking, you're not really reading.
Yeah. No, we're going to do a whole
which
episode
is so
on
silly.
that.
Yeah. There's a teaser for an episode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that I love that book, and I highly recommend reading it. I have just been finishing up. I try to read several different genres at once because that just keeps my mind active, and it's also like different times of day. I listen to more didactic things in the morning while I'm getting ready, and then, you know, different things while I'm doing housework, and then something lighter before bed to kind of like settle my mind down. But I actually don't have a lighter selection for this episode.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I look at my stack and I'm like, I really need to diversify.
Yeah. Well, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, I just need to finish. You know, I've got so many things going on. I just need to finish one before I pick up another light one, because then the light one tends to get read more, you know?
Yes.
So I just finished the Odyssey again, which I've read that multiple times over my adulthood and even in high school. But it's such a good book. I mean, it just keeps you going. So that almost was my light selection.
Yeah.
The translation by
I was going to ask
Fitzgerald.
which one.
Yeah, the Fitzgerald translation is my favorite. It is not the most, I wouldn't say it's not academically credible. It's not the one that most professors say is like the best, which is usually people say Fagles or, there's another one, my mind's blanking. But because Fitzgerald is more of a prose rendering, and it's he's American. So C.S. Lewis even reviewed Fitzgerald's and said it definitely has that American like strength or whatever. But it's the one that I keep coming back to. It's the one I first read in high school, and it got me excited about reading the Iliad and the Odyssey. And my kids, even when they were assigned the other ones, they would read, you know, the more academic one, and then they would read the Fitzgerald, and they were like, "Oh, this is really good." And that's the one they'd be taking in the car. And I read it this time along with the Odyssey Great Course that we have assigned in Living Heritage. And I've listened to that, but I never listened to them simultaneously, like a few chapters in the Great Course and a few chapters in the Great Course. The Great Course on the Odyssey by Elizabeth Vandiver is fantastic. And she just goes into talking about how hospitality worked in ancient cultures, and how Homer is giving us, like, by talking about the type of hospitality that Odysseus received, he's actually, presenting their character, and like an ancient audience would have understood, the strength or weakness of their character based on the type of hospitality. And then she just gets into all kinds of different, themes and cultural things that we might miss because we're not ancients.
Right.
So I love that, and listened to that recently and finished it up. My Sunday book, I have special Sunday books, and maybe we can do an episode on that too. So what I've been listening to while I get ready in the morning on Sundays, and I just finished, is Following God Fully by Joel Beeke. And I listened to that on G3+. And so that was another one that, I've heard people talk about, and I've been like, oh, I should read that. I've read Worldly Saints by Leland Ryken, and it's kind of a similar idea, but he gives little biographies of a bunch of different Puritans, and they're kind of divided up by different categories of the Christian life, or different theologies that they emphasize.
Chronologically.
Yeah. So, different ones that emphasized Christ, or, they all did, but you know what I mean? Like they're writing centered, or that emphasize different things primarily in their writings. They're kind of divided up like that. And the chapters were short, so it didn't really take me that long. And it's just something that I wanted to pick up and just hadn't. And then I thought, oh, I can listen to this now. So that's what I did.
Nice.
Yeah. So Sunday mornings, I just did that for a month or two. And finished that up. And I just finished another book, which was really intriguing. I'd never read anything like this. It was called I Must Betray You. And it's historical fiction set in 1989 in Romania under communist oppression.
Oh.
So
it's probably not much written around then.
No, there's not. And I think it's like meant for like a YA kind of audience, like a young adult. I honestly wouldn't recommend it for that age, just because some of the themes and some questionable, there was nothing explicit in there, but just I wouldn't give it to
a younger
kid, but it was really eye-opening for me. I had never really read about Romania under communist oppression. I've read about Russia, I read about East Germany, but Romania, apparently, like, their dictator was the worst, and they were the only one with a bloody revolution in 1989 when the wall fell.
Right.
So it was fascinating. It really got me interested in that. And I actually read about a Christian biography of a woman who lived in Romania at that time. So now I want to,
nice.
I mean, it wasn't with it, but
it tied into it.
It will. So I want to read that next and, read more about that time, but like from a Christian perspective.
Right.
So, and that was really good. It was intense, but I mean, it just made me think, like, first of all, how thankful I am for our freedoms, but then also, like, we could go that direction.
How precarious everything is. Right.
Yeah. So, we're reading across lots of genres.
I know, and this is going to give me ideas for
I'm like
what to read next. I have my running list of two reads.
Oh, me too. It's so long. Too. It's never ending. No. But that's good.
It is a good
I'm
thing.
always adding. And then I check it off. It is nice, like when you're doing your stack and then you finish several. Like then you're like, check.
Oh, yes. I put everything in Goodreads so that at the end of the year, I'm like, I have done, I have read these books, and it also helps me remember, because I forget,
what you've done.
Yeah, that year. So, all right. So I have had so many moms tell me, I haven't read since college, and I'll read again when my kids grow up. I just don't have time to read right now. And so we want to encourage our listeners to read now. So even when we're in this busy season, so why? Why do you think this is important? Why should we be reading?
I mean, I would say a huge thing as somebody who has recently picked up fiction again is it helps develop your imagination, which helps you deal with difficult circumstances. Just being able to see good triumph over evil, in a really good fiction.
Yeah.
Right. That truly is life's story.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And of course, that can be in nonfiction too, any sort of story like that. But it's just nice to have that very well-developed imagination, even as an adult. I think sometimes we just think of that for our children.
Yeah.
And it is very important that we're developing that in our children, but also ourselves. Like, it's a muscle that we are always having to work out. And I truly do believe it helps with anxiety. It helps with fear of the future. Being able to see how things really can work out, even the most difficult circumstances when it seems like all hope is lost. And then
or feeling like overwhelmed or weary.
Yes.
And in those moments, I've even been there. Like, I don't have time to read because I'm so stressed or overwhelmed or anxious about these other things. So I don't have time for that. When I've actually learned that it's in those times that reading is actually
Very helpful.
not most necessarily most profitable, but certainly profitable.
Very helpful.
And it, I think that it actually steadies your heart during those times, whatever's going on, because things can be chaotic or you feel overwhelmed, and a book can be constant, especially if it's a really good book,
Right?
whether fiction or not, or whatever you're reading.
Just a good story.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Something that gets to our hearts. And I think whether we're reading fiction or nonfiction, and I was just listening to a pastor talk about this morning as I was prepping for this podcast, and he was talking about reading Christian books, but he said not just books that transmit truth, although that's important, but he said what the older Christians would have called unction. Books that get to the heart and that, that really that change our hearts or get our hearts involved, with the story, and that they're so well written, all of that. We shouldn't just be reading information just for information's sake, but that we're actually shaping our hearts and our imaginations.
It's one of the best feelings to get to the end of a book and just relish in how fantastic, a book was. And I think a lot of people can point to that, whether even if it's a nonfiction book and you just get to the end and you're like, soaked through with all the stuff that you just read. And it is a great feeling.
It is. It's an encouragement. And as moms, I feel like our jobs sort of never end. Like there's always the same rotation of things that we're doing. And, motherhood is 24/7. But a book, you have that sense of accomplishment when you finish it.
That's true.
So it does give you that sort of sense of ending something and accomplishing something and then starting something new.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've learned. I mean,
yes,
that's
and
the
you've
thing.
grown.
It feels really good to have learned something. And like I said, we can't even discount fiction. Fiction teaches us all sorts of lessons.
Absolutely.
We may notice that there's a character in a book that has the same struggles we do. And we see ourselves a little bit more clearly because of that. And we think, I need to work on that because that's how that looks in this story. So it's... It teaches us, and it feels good to have that sense of accomplishment, not just that we did it, but that we learned.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that I thought it's good for busy moms to read, especially for homeschool moms.
Yeah.
We're all homeschool moms, so we're kind of coming at from that angle and that viewpoint, but it's necessary as a homeschool mom to read because you want to create a reading culture in your kids and a reading culture in your home. And what better way to do that than just to model reading? And when your kids see you reading, they're going to be encouraged to read. And I used to not be a reader. I didn't always grow up being a reader. And I
never considered myself a reader growing up.
And actually, when our first 3 kids were younger and our oldest was about to start kindergarten, I had picked up some Doug Wilson books and just about, I don't even know if he did specifically books on homeschooling, but
eventually he did, but not at first.
Right.
Yeah.
But just about, schooling in general. And one of the things that was said in there was just, if you're going to be a homeschool mom, you have to learn to read. Even if you think you don't like it, you have to learn to do it and to learn to like it, because kids aren't going to be apt to be like wanting to do it if you see your mom just kind of doing it out of, a begrudging attitude. Yeah,
just forcing yourself to read.
Right.
And I mean, sometimes when we build a new habit, it is a discipline, and we just have to force ourselves. But as we stretch our muscles, just like becoming a runner, like probably nobody, especially if we're out of shape, like if we haven't read for a while, then that muscle is atrophied, and so you have to just say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start, like right now I'm doing a Couch to 5K running program, right? And I just, it's bursts. It's walking and then bursts of running. And then it gets longer and longer. And we've got to do that with our reading. If we haven't read for a while, or if we've read mostly junk, the kind of worldly,
well, if people are
junk
on social media, they are reading.
Yes, they are.
and they're probably
yes.
reading just whatever their newsfeed is sending
Tells them
them.
to.
Yeah. The algorithm is determining their reading material. Yeah. And I mean, that's true too. Like if you're on social media at all, then you have no excuse not to be reading.
Right.
Because instead of social media,
There's
even
an opportunity.
if you're on social media for 2 minutes or 2 hours, all of that time could have been spent. You could read one page or you could read, chapters and chapters in that amount of time. So
And I know we're going to be doing a podcast or an episode about when you should read.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really applicable then about how to save your time.
Absolutely.
For that.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things I always tell people is, why should you read? Well, it grows your witness because you're able to talk about more things with more people.
true.
You've entered into the experiences of multiple people. You've read from Christians throughout the ages. And so you're taking part in church history by doing that.
Yes.
And so that expands our witness and it also grows our marriages. I really think, our husbands are in ministry and so they're reading, whether it be commentaries to prepare for sermons or whatever it is. But our husbands are growing in their fields of business, no matter what that is. And sometimes as moms, we become stagnant and we just think, I only have time to fold laundry. I only have time to cook. And, when we could be growing our minds, and we'll talk about that more in the When Can We Read episode as well. But even just as if we're growing, we have more things to talk about with our husbands.
That's right.
And it's not like one person is growing in the marriage and the
Yes.
other person isn't. So it's really important for us to read.
And with your kids too, like it provides you opportunities. And one of the books that I read a couple of months ago was the first book to the Mistmantle Chronicles, which is also on G3 Plus. And I listened to it because it's on audio there when they came out with all their audio books. And all 3 of my oldest kids just love it. And they're like talking about it. I was like, okay, I just need to go and read it. And I listened to it. And then it was just like my kids were like, Mom, let's talk about this book.
I love that.
So great.
Yeah.
They get so excited because they have something in common with mom now.
Right.
Because you are growing and learning along with them and
it was
sharing in their
so
joy.
funny because we have our G3 Plus account and I would be listening and then I'd see later on that I'm further along in the book and I'm like, what happened here? And another kid, sorry, that was me. I've pushed it ahead.
At least you need a family account.
We do need a family account.
You can add more people to your family account and you can all be reading separate places.
We need to do that.
I think we know someone who can hook you up with
Probably.
that. Yeah.
That's okay. It was an all right problem to have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's fun for, your kids to, to be like, I'm farther ahead.
That's true.
than you
Oh, yeah,
are.
they did for sure. They did.
Yeah. I was listening to that pastor this morning and one of the things he said was the ability to read is one of God's greatest gifts to you. And that is true. Like he's given us the ability to read. Language is a gift from God. And we know that words are important to God.
Right.
So we can't take
Christ
that for
described
granted.
himself as the Word.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So we need to be spending time growing, not just our bodies and not just having busy hands, but also growing in our minds, and that will grow our spirits, it'll grow our hearts, it will make us better wives, and it will make us better mothers.
Right.
So we can't use motherhood as an excuse not to read, but rather motherhood should be one of our primary motivations to read, to grow, to become better people, better Christians, to be growing as human beings in the image of Christ. So
it's very much God's design. I actually just got finished reading the book of Proverbs, and it talks about wisdom and how wisdom was there in the beginning when the Lord was creating. And I was thinking about it, and I've thought about this before, how everything the Lord does starts with his words, and then they manifest into reality. And he's given us a world, he's given us languages, and he's given us a world that everything starts, like even our bodies, with instructions that he has written in our DNA, and then they are made manifest. And I really do think that's why reading and what you read is so powerful, for better or for bad, because we're putting those things in our hearts. That's how God designed us as creatures, is to receive those words, and those words do reflect in our lives ultimately.
Yeah.
Is what's going to happen. And so that's why we have to be careful about what we read, but it's also why we may think we're not doing much when we're reading, but we are actually we're planting like these seeds in our hearts that we're going to reap the fruit of later. And that goes along with what I said earlier about having a good imagination, even having a sense of humor about things, being like the Proverbs 31 woman and laughing at the days to come because you know that the story that matters most, which is the story of redemption in God's word, that good does triumph over evil, which is why we can laugh,
Yes.
and have a sense of humor and not just be. It's so easy as a woman and as a mother to be worried and fretful and to have that serious, face all the time. That's all your kids see is a serious look on your face.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all that to say that it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Reading is, and it has a huge impact.
Yeah.
On us.
It does.
Sure.
And if you're wondering, when can I get all this done? When, you're talking about reading and why it's so important, but I just don't feel like I have time. Well, that's what we're going to talk about in our next episode. So if you don't want to miss that, then hit the like and subscribe buttons and all the other things that you're supposed to do that I don't even know. And
follow
along with Busy Moms Can Read, and we'll have lots more episodes giving you practical tips on how you can, as a busy mom, continue to grow in your reading life. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.